In this video, I'm going to demonstrate an alternate way with which you can construct your 3D bridge in AutoCAD. So before you start your drawing, make sure you create a couple of layers. One would be your object layer, and the second one would be a 3D layer. Okay, and then we want to make sure we're on object layer to start. So I'm going to grab my line tool, and the other thing that you need to do is ensure that your units have been changed. So let's do that. 2 mm. And then hit OK. And now I want to designate a starting point for this because it's very easy to be zoomed out or zoomed in and not realize it. And you could have your bridge way, way, way up here, which would change your coordinates significantly. You'd start seeing thousands instead of hundreds in your numbers. Okay, so I'll put 100 and 200. So it looks like I'm actually pretty far out. So I'm going to escape from there and zoom way out. Okay, now I'll do it again. That's better. Now I know where I can zoom in. I also want to turn on ortho mode. So my overhang piece, I'm going to give it a value of 20, but because my wall thickness is going to be 10, I'm going to make this 30. And I'm going to come down 110 to compensate for the 10 that I need to designate to the wall thickness. So I'll do 110 and come over 10 and go up 100 and across 20 and then end with 10. Okay, and now we want to bring this line across to the midpoint of our bridge. So let's grab the line tool, and I'm just going to put in a value of, say, 240. And then coming down from this point, I'm going to add 10 units. And now I'll turn off ortho mode so I can go to the corner. Okay, so that's done. Now to create that thickness along the top, we just select this point here and pull it across. And then actually what we want to do for the diagonal is choose offset. So put in a value of 10. Click here. And we're done. Okay, so now we need to trim out the pieces that are extending over, overlapping, or extending outside of the diagram. All right, now when you're designing your bridge, I recommend you complete all of the struts and the cross pieces and any kind of decor, whatever it is you're putting in on your bridge on the one side. Do that first before we mirror it. Otherwise, you have to replicate all your work again. So now we will select the left side of the bridge, then go over to mirror, hit enter. I like to select this point here and bring it into position. And we want to keep the original one. So don't delete that. So there we have a very, very simplistic bridge that has been completed. But as you can see, we have this join piece here, so we want to make sure we trim that out before we proceed. And now we have our bridge completed. Remember that this is a line drawing, and if you want to do a solid extrusion, you would need to create a polyline version. So let's move over to the 3D layer here and trace this with the Polyline tool. So as you can see, the little guides pop up to show you exactly where you need to click. If you don't see those little boxes, then you have to turn that on under OSNAP. And then we repeat that again for the center. Okay, now we have to move it off of the original drawing. It's very similar to how you designed your Lego block. So in order to do that successfully, we have to turn off the object layer. And then we can select our bridge. Now I recommend you zoom out so that you have the ability to pull. And then we select the move tool. And pull it across. It might be easier to do this in ortho mode if you're really struggling. Okay, so once we have it in position, we can turn on the object layer again. To proceed to the next step, you would want to change your view from top to southeast isometric. For anyone on a Mac, you will want to select the modeling option, bring up the modeling panel. If you're on a PC, you would select 3D tools. So we're going to make a selection. Grab extrude, and I'll set the value to 10 millimeters. Now it looks like it's complete until you go into shades of gray. As you can see, we still have these internal shapes that are filled and they need to be removed so that we have holes there instead. To do that, we need to go to Modify, Solid Editing, Subtract. Now this is only on a Mac that it's located in this area. On a PC, you have the advantage it's in your toolbar along the top. So select the outermost region, hit enter. There, now we have our holes. Now it's time to duplicate this side of our bridge so that we have two sides. To do that, you want to copy it. So you make a selection, you find your copy tool here. I'm going to select the midpoint here and move it up 100 millimeters. Okay, so now we have two. Now it's time to design the cross pieces that connect the two sides together. You can actually build these directly onto the bridge. It's a different process than what I showed you before. So I'm going to grab the Polyline tool here and I'll make this 10 millimeters by 10 and 10 and 10. And now I want to extrude it so I can connect it. Now this is where it gets a little tricky because it wants to grab the other part. Okay, hit enter. Now you can either click it where it connects, it sort of snaps into position, or to be cautious, I just put in 100. That makes it go all the way through. If you'd rather it was seated at the beginning, it would be 90. So let's do that. And undo that, move forward. So you won't see it coming through if you do it this way. Enter and put 90. And now it's simply connected on the one side as opposed to going all the way through. So if I were to rotate this around, you can see that it has a fairly good connection there. So we can copy this cross piece and simply place it in the other areas as well. So let's go back to southeast isometric mode. And I'm going to get the copy tool. Grab this, hit enter. And I think I'm going to grab it from that point, bring it over here, snap into position, come over here, snap it into position, come over here, snap it into position. So I have those corners put into place, and now we just have to figure out what we're doing along the top. One thing that, going across a straight line is fairly straightforward, but going along a slope is where it becomes more challenging. What you want to do to make your life easier is just to copy these corner ones. So let's grab that. Actually, first I want to get my copy command. Hit enter. Find a point to pull it by. I'm going to move this 50 millimeters. And as you can see, if we zoom in here, it's not seated correctly along the bar, so we want to rotate it. So let's go to Gizmo on yours. If you're using a PC, on a Mac, it's called 3D Rotate. Hit enter. And I want to move it on the horizontal plane here. So let's grab that. And you can just sort of eyeball it near the bottom. That looks pretty good. What we want to do, let's escape out of there, is move this around. Now, as you can see, it's extended out a little bit here, so we just have to shift it in ever so slightly. So go to move, select objects, hit enter, snap it into place. Just make sure this looks correct. We rotate this again, and now it's in position. So if you have a design where every 50 millimeters you have a cross piece, you would simply copy the last one and type in 50. So I'll give you another example of that. Let's get out of here. Grab the copy command and move it over. I'm going to type 50. So it's 50 from that spot. And because I've already angled it, it might already be the correct position and angle. So let's take a look at that. It's ever so slightly protruding on the side. So once again, you would just simply use your move tool to pop that back into the spot. It's just a little nudge. And everything looks good. And that, in essence, is how you construct your bridge. If you just break it into small steps, it makes it a lot more manageable. So that's just an alternate way of doing things from the last video. Neither is incorrect. You might have a preference towards this, or perhaps you like the press pull command and you've become acclimated to using that instead.